is this called Raincouver, nicknamed Raincouver? This is why. But as I've done for more than a year now, I'll dance in any conditions, rain or shine. It's my way of making dance more of an adventure. And do I really need to make it more exciting though? Breakdancing and all the forms of dancing as well have been as much of an adventure as adventure traveling, just in different ways. I'm exhibiting more of the natural cherry blossoms today because I've been obsessed with creating art about them. In particular, I've shot a series of hyperlapses in all different manners, at different times, different angles, including me, excluding me. As I've continued to edit my rockumentary, I've noticed that my habit of volume shooting has paid off. As much as maybe to other people it might have been obvious, to me, I never had an explicit goal to ever create a rockumentary as such. I just knew that maybe at the very least the video would serve as the best kind of souvenir. That's been true, but this also given me the opportunity to film whatever I want now without having too many regrets. Of course, I probably would have had even better footage if I had shot with the intention of creating a rockumentary, but it is what it is. I'm happy that I had the option to go backwards and extract information, because if you only ever shot very little or mostly in photos, you'd never have the option to now create a rockumentary. You might even have to go back on more trips, which for the foreseeable future is going to be difficult. So I think I have enough raw footage to make a couple part series, and I've decided in Zack Snyder form to go long. Zack Snyder is a prolific action director, and he released his Snyder Cut of Justice League to repeat what I've already explained before. He really had a multi-hour vision, 4 hours, but because of the suicide of his daughter, he had to step away from that project, and the studio replaced him with Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon released a 2-hour movie. Just by law of math, how can you take a vision and have it? Have it. Okay? Halve it. 50% it. I, as an artist, have had difficulty cutting even the most minuscule of things. Sometimes, while I've been editing, I've gone frame by frame, and I've fought and retched for each frame. So, for me, now, I'm going the opposite direction. Because I can execute a vision, I'm going to execute it to the fullest. Any of these time constraints are really imposed by only me. This is a creative art, and a creative art by itself. Zack Snyder, Josh Whedon, all of those still work under economic pressures of Hollywood and such. I have only my own pressures. My own pressure is this. I just want to create an authentic rockumentary. By authentic, I mean that's authentic to me, my aesthetic, and my personality. More so, the creativity has its own mind that's really separate from me. How do I explain this? Well, I might sound schizophrenic, but I think of creativity as another person that resides in this brain, but separate. And it wants to express itself however and whenever it wants. My job, if you will, as an artist is just to really channel that creativity in the most authentic way possible. That means that I'm quite a spontaneous artist. I really prefer to just create in the moment, which is why live vlogging has worked so well for me. Most people, professional YouTubers and others such, like to edit content, and that's great. That works. That's actually mostly what I myself watch. But I like to create in the heat of the moment, and I really have trouble editing because I feel like in some ways that does lose the essence of the moment. So all of my old footage from all of my previous adventure, travel, and adventure experiences is really in the moment. I speak off the cuff, right then and there, one take, no edits. So what I'm trying to do is translate that sense of exciting spontaneity into the rockumentary, while having to correct things like sound, quality, video quality. Those are technical aspects, but they do make a difference. For example, when I'm watching some of my footage that was of lower quality because of the technical constraints of the time, I sometimes do have that little pang of regret, because now I know how good filming can be even on a budget. So this last couple of days, and really in 2021, I've really massaged the raw virtual reality and 360 footage. Again, I filmed in volume without a real idea or direction, just knowing that at the very least these are the best mementos for traveling, because your human brain, as much as I've been working on it using tips and tools from my favorite neuroscientists like Dr. Andrew Huberman, the brain is still limited, and the best way to jog that old memory is to watch your own footage. 360 and virtual reality has the added benefit of being much more immersive, especially if you watch using the Oculus or other virtual reality headsets. But even mapping onto 2D normal video quality output is actually still a creative, exciting endeavor, because 360 and virtual reality footage has many, many more options than just the normal camera output. In fact, in some ways you have almost infinite options because you can rotate, tilt, pan, number of other video effects that greatly change the viewing experience. For me, it's actually been a lot of fun to think about how am I going to map this footage in an exciting, creative way. Okay, I think it's going to start raining a lot more, so I'm going to breakdance first. 10 minutes in first. With a randomly selected song. This is the first time I'm hearing this song. Whatever. That's what happens when I just pick a song randomly, but I'm trying to really replicate what it's like to breakdance. At least when I'm watching Red Bull, I am under the impression that the DJ just picks whatever song and the dancer dances to it on the spot. Now maybe they actually know the song in advance, which would make a huge difference. But in any case, this adds another element of adventure to dancing, where you actually have to create or match your choreography to the dance. That's a better way, because obviously I've actually choreographed the top rock, which is the standing element. The only thing that I really do somewhat freestyle is the down rock, which is the dancing on the floor. But that I do because I just feel comfortable with my body that way. Yes, that seems odd, that the more technically difficult thing, I'd feel more comfortable just throwing my body around spontaneously. But that's how it works, because it really has to feel in the moment what it wants to do based on a number of different factors. For example, the slipperiness of the floor. That always introduces a more conservative element, because I really want to avoid having major injuries. I've avoided major injuries for the entire year. I've only had 1 or 2 minor injuries, and that's worked out well. I want to keep it that way because I'm about building consistency this time around. It's worked well. That's how I've consistently grown and prospered as a dancer. Mentioned before that I took that cue from the top mixed martial arts coach Faraz Zahabi, because he really has a bit of a counter view on this, which is, instead of training to your absolute maximum and then blowing yourself up to have to rest, aim for an output that you can consistently perform day by day by day. I dance / exercise vigorously 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off per week. Each vigorous day I do about 2 hours worth, which includes active yoga. So I think that's a good pace. I dance a little less than I would in a normal dance session, but I've sometimes gone on for 30 minutes just dancing in my vlogs. Those are a little bit more representative. Of course, like any human body, I'm still going to dance and stop and rest. So it actually resembles sometimes HIIT or height, HIIT, high intensity interval training. But then I also just go with the rhythm of my body. Because I have such a long time frame of 2 hours, I know that even if I'm only about half to a quarter efficient, I have a good at least half an hour to an hour of cardio and at least half an hour to an hour of good yoga, both active and dynamic. The reason why I've transitioned over to more strength and active yoga is because that's actually helped build my capacity to eventually transition into breakdancing, the power moves, or what I'll consider at least down rock. As much as for these things you might have a goal in mind. For me, it's to breakdance. That's a very vague goal. It's ambiguous. What exactly is breakdancing? In some ways, I've already reached my goal, but I've done it in a methodical, analytical manner, because if I had just thrown my body down on the floor and just started trying to emulate these Red Bull B-boys and B-girls, I would have 100% injured myself. What I wanted to do actually was ensure my own longevity and transition what I already know, which is yoga and martial arts, into something that is breakdancing. But sometimes maybe it'll take me a longer time. That longer time, I think I'll still win with consistency. To circle back to Faraz Zahabi, his mindset is that if you max yourself out one day because you're excited, and then you have to take 14 days off to rest, you probably would have gained more by taking whatever time you maxed out. Let's say you did 7-8 hard hours, and just split them up. For example, the way I've been doing it, over that 14-day period, I would have actually performed cumulatively more hours than the person who blew themselves up one day and had to rest. I know this because I've actually done it before myself when I was younger. So I've tried many different ways. The problem with blowing yourself up is that you can demoralize yourself when you have consistency and then you suddenly stop. First of all, you're fighting against multiple fronts. muscles can atrophy in as little as 2 to 3 days. So if you're out for that long, you have a difficult situation in trying to establish momentum. So you're in, you're out. As I now know, and neuroscience has co-signed, every time you start, you have difficulty. You really do. There's inertia. I am still fundamentally lazy in a way. Every time I know that it's time to dance, there's always some moments of resistance. But that's actually part of the process. According to neuroscience, you just really have to get over that tiny hump of resistance, sometimes monumental mound of resistance. How you do this is because you know already. You have a history with your body. Before dancing, there was yoga. Before yoga, there was martial arts. I know this. So with that history in mind, I know that once I cross that little hump, there's a lot of positive to be had. Creativity, health, all of that. But yeah, of course, if I were to wait till I was truly 100% motivated to do anything, I would have done nothing in this life. And that's actually something that a couple of prominent scientists have echoed. So, okay, back to dancing for a little bit. Am I going to pick the same song or a different song? Okay, that song that I just danced to, I'm so on. Some cherry blossom leaves made their way onto my hands because they are actually partially flying off due to the wind. And they smell like cherry blossoms, like you would expect. Okay. For some reason, this artist repeating the word carrots is throwing me off. What is this? I expected this to be completely instrumental, which is why I'm just a bit out of it now. Okay, I'm straying from my own fundamentals, which is I'm really dancing haphazardly. I should be counting beats because that's the fundamental way to do it. I've choreographed to an 8 count, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and... What I should do is take maybe a bar or two up to 4 to establish what the beat of the song is and then count out my beats to the song. What I just did in the last 2 cycles was go at it by feeling, and I was offbeat. I know that much for sure. So I have one more chance. Let's try again, counting beats if I can. Otherwise, today is an off day, and that's what happens sometimes. Okay, I'm obviously struggling. Whatever, it is what it is. As part of being consistent on a schedule, I'm probably peaking on a different day or at a different time, or I'm just making up a ton of excuses. Another good lesson from neuroscientist Andrew Huberman is that mistakes are actually a good thing. That's actually the way to encourage your brain to develop neuroplasticity, new neural pathways. If you're so interested though, please search him up, Andrew Huberman, Huberman. He has what I think is the best podcast right now, and I listen on YouTube, but I know that he's available on all the other medium platforms. The other scientists that I've been following are Heather Hying and Brett Weinstein. Who else? Lex Friedman. I've chilled off from Joe Rogan. And yes, he's more of an everyman than a scientist. I just lumped him into the scientist category for some reason. Maybe, more accurately, he's scientifically curious. I'll give him that. But since he's moved to Spotify, he's been harder to follow. I'm too lazy to download Spotify, and really, this just goes to show you that there are so many artistic people out there, so many creators, that one goes, another can fill the void. More importantly, I think some of the other people I've mentioned have more applicable knowledge. For example, Andrew Huberman has had probably some of the best advice on how to improve your life day to day than anyone else. The other stuff is more general interest, but that's my read on it. Okay. We'll do this as a parting shot. Did that work out? I might have been a bit jerky on that. But it's a beautiful shot. Can I save it? Yes, I think my hyperlapses are better than what I just did right now.